everybody. Welcome to Star Trek Resignation, a Discovery Home Companion. This is the podcast you're listening to. You probably knew that. My name is Wade Bowen, and with me is Sean Parada.
Hey.
And getting second billing this time for
Now that I know it was intentional, I feel much worse about it.
It's Glenn Hall.
I knew it was intentional.
Hello. I didn't realize that I was getting first billing before this, and now, again, feel even worse.
Well, it goes in order of how recently you watched the episode. So.
Yeah, I mean, before then, you were definitely, putting in more work.
Oh my God.
You had, much more invested in this, and I could tell, and, you deserve that first billing.
Oh, yes, and
tonight.
I got so much appreciation for all of that Star Trek work.
I mean, the fans like you more than me, so they appreciate it.
As long as someone does.
Yes. No, I appreciate it.
Dear listeners, Glenn didn't watch the fucking episode today.
Okay.
He watched it months ago when it aired.
Which is an important distinction. There is a difference between not watching the episode
I said
at all.
today, Glenn. At no point did I lie.
But, well, if you hadn't added that second part, people would be understandably confused, thinking, did Glenn not watch the episode at all? That's not the case. I did watch the episode.
I think they're going to be confused as to why you're talking about a Star Trek episode now that you watched in 2020.
Yeah. People are here for our in-depth, razor intelligence, just,
We got to fine-tooth comb this shit.
Reviews of this episode of Star Trek Discovery, and, well, okay, what was this one called? It was called...
I don't know.
The Sanctuary, not Sanctuary. Sanctuary is a DS9 episode with... I think that's the Cool Hand Luke one, right? No, Sanctuary is the one with the oatmeal face people, Space Mormons.
Oh, the one with like the lady with the multiple husbands.
Yeah, I think that was Sanctuary.
That's the one where like they do the weird thing where they kind of establish how the translator works or doesn't work in some.
I don't remember. No, it's got oatmeal face space alien space Mormons. I don't know. That's all I need. That's all. I don't remember. I don't remember what technobabble came up in it.
Well, Wade, I remember that you.
We're not doing that segment. We're talking about The Sanctuary, an episode.
I'm not talking about the episode. I'm talking about the episode of the ROA that you, James, and Hugh discussed this very episode because I remember listening to that.
I know. I'm talking about this episode of Star Trek Discovery. An episode I could at least say that you watched more recently than you watched the DS9 one, I hope, because this is a Star Trek Discovery podcast, I believe.
Yes, I was already on Voyager when I watched this episode of Discovery. So yes, I definitely it's definitely been longer since I saw the DS9 one.
Did you watch Voyager instead of rewatching this episode?
Yes, I watched.
You are a motherfucker, Glenn.
I watched 3 episodes of Voyager today.
All right, so since you don't know every beat and plot to tell us, give us the synopsis of this episode then.
So the short synopsis is there's trouble on Book's planet because of the Emerald Chain. They go to visit Book's planet, which is called Quajan. Book has a brother who dresses exactly like him. Well, every one of the planets seems dressed like him. Too much detail, I know.
They're Star Trek aliens.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, proud tradition of that in Star Trek. But they go to the planet. They're telepathic. They're all telepathic like Book is. They commune with...
Empathic,
sorry. No, thank you. I appreciate the correction. There's a problem with the locusts. They're not responding to their telepathy for some reason. Osira, the Wicked Witch of the West, big bad of the Emerald Chain, arrives and wants the Andorian guy, threatens to basically torch the planet and all the I think she threatens to torch the trees specifically first. She whatever. She threatens the planet and says, I'll destroy so much every hour and yada 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 until you give me the Andorian. And then, this is the episode where what's-her-face, Detmer, has like a Star Wars style... Oh, fuck off. You know what?
Keep going. You're just dragging it out.
So... God damn it. So they keep the Andorian away, Rin, his name is, from Osira, and they go on like a Death Star trench run on Osira's ship, and they repel her somehow that I don't remember, and they make telepathic contact with the Locust, and everything's fine. I know so many of these details are wrong, but I got the broad strokes of it.
Well, one, it's empathic, and two, their empathy works. It just there's too many locusts. There's too many of them, is what they say in the episode. But yeah, it's fine.
So that's why. So at the end, the ship amplifies their empathic beams.
In the end, I hated it so much.
What a stupid show.
They use a deflector array to amplify their empathic powers, which is like, well, that's at the end of this episode, but that's like Star Trek 101. Have you tried turning it off and on again? It's like it's the most rote. Just use the deflector array and then to Technopab will fix the problem.
Sure. Oh, also
cheapest, dumbest.
Also, Giorgio gets more tests done by Culber, and Cronenberg, I think, weighs in at some point.
Cronenberg is not in this episode.
Cronenberg is not in this episode!
I'm sorry. Okay, that's the next episode then. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, she's dying is what she, finds out from stealing the test results from him.
Yes.
Right, yeah. Because the cold open of this episode is 10 minutes of Giorgio dying, and then Book comes up and says, "We have to go back to my planet." And then it's like, okay.
It's really mixed stakes. It really makes you think we're good. This is going to be the one where we do the Giorgio thing, and then it is not the one where we're going to do the Giorgio thing. Well, in the next one, they go to the Alps, and
right.
Whatever.
Yeah, they start doing the Giorgio thing. Like, because the thing I noticed watching it tonight for this episode, like, the previously on is the most convoluted previously on.
It's a mess.
Like, you just hit the notes that you need to for this episode. You say,
it's like a Glen Synopsis.
It really is. It's like a Book is, all it should be is that Book is, you do a previously on, Book talks about where he comes from.
That's right.
Yeah. It should have just been just like, okay, here's Book shit. There's a distress thing to his planet. Maybe something Giorgio had to freak out, even though that really has nothing to do with the plot of this episode, other than that's an ongoing thing they have to tie in. Yeah, that previously on was just like, here's a bunch of things that you should know, and if you don't know, they don't have anything to do with this episode, but they're for the plot of the season. But you should already know that by now. So, like, why are you wasting our time with this stuff? It should have just been here's the Book shit, except they didn't go over any of the history of Book stuff because it doesn't actually have jack shit to do with this episode, because they just said, whatever, we threw it in this Book mystery stuff, but then it's just like, I don't know, but then we just shoehorn this in.
Nothing interesting with the Book stuff.
Yeah, it's
he has a brother. Like, that's literally that's it.
Right? Like, when he showed up, he was like, oh, my people are evil hunters, but a few of us are good every now and then.
Right.
But then it's like, this episode we learn, well,
yep.
My people were always good empaths, but then they made a deal with the Emerald Chain, and now they're bad.
Right.
And I left. And you think that there's something weird because I have a human name and I look human, but my forehead glows. But no, we all do that because we're just Star Trek aliens. And my real name is Tarix. And then we learn, spoilers later on, we learn his name is Book because he was friend with a guy named Book and he took his name.
Oh, right. God, really? That, Jesus Christ.
That's it, yeah.
Right, and so he forsake his name when his family took up with the Emerald Chain.
Yeah. Then in this episode, they say happened 100 years ago, but then also it caused him to leave, and I don't understand when that deal happened, but...
Hey, you know what's wild? That every single thing on this show happened 100 years ago.
Right?
Nothing has happened in the past 100 years. Which really is kind of true and is like my entire gripe with this episode, an ongoing gripe, like, with this show, is that, again, like, the Federation, and I know they can't warp, I get it, like, that's the excuse that they created. They can't warp, so fine, they can't warp, okay, cool. But it really is, it's just like, everyone's just like, the Federation, pussies!
Right, they've just been, everybody that's not the Federation is like, the Federation can't be trusted. Everybody on Discovery is like, they can be trusted, and now we're teaching you that they can, and they can be trusted, and there's really no delving into why the rest of the galaxy thinks that they can't, other than
the show definitely, they think that they've explained it all away. They think that they did it. They can't warp, so they're stuck in their weird bubble, and from that bubble, they just play defense. And that's it. And because of that, the Federation is bad. Like, that's it. That's what... And it's like, what? That's not enough. This is Star Trek. How is there, like, significant space politics and we're not diving into the nuance of it?
Yeah. Well, the nuance is that there's the Emerald Chain and then there's Starfleet.
Yeah.
And they're both big.
Right.
And they're scared of the Emerald Chain and they don't want to piss them off. So they're like, you can't go to Qui-Gon Jinn, or whatever, the forest planet of Endor, of Impasse. And then they're like, but what if we go as observers? And they're like, okay, sure, you can do that. And then they're like, you can't attack that ship, but what if we attack it with Book's ship? Then they can't be mad at us because it's somebody going rogue, but it has the same repercussions.
Right, yeah, what the fuck? That was the stupidest shit, man. Like, what? She knows she's not stupid. Why is... And I liked seeing Saru be a captain. Like, be, like, in the chair... Be a captain, do some diplomacy, do captain shit, raise the alert level, blah, blah, like all that. It's good to see because I feel like Saru has been captain in name only as long as I've seen him be captain. So this is nice. I'm into it. But fuck, man, like yeah, that's the dumbest plan in the world. And if it worked, I would have been mad. But I'm also mad that
it obviously wasn't gonna.
Right, yeah. I'm mad that they wanted us to think it would work. I don't know. It's what the fuck?
Well, because they needed to. Hey, they tied up Detmer's heart.
Right.
She wasn't possessed by control, like we.
No, she was just insecure.
She was just insecure. She needed to be macho. Like at the end, she says, "Look, I'm macho. I watch out, universe," or whatever she says as a line at the end of the episode.
Dumb shit show.
Yeah.
I just the Detmer thing again. There are so many things that are just emblematic in this season, and the Detmer thing is also emblematic because it's something that, like, for better or worse, could have been something more interesting, i.e., possessed by control or whatever, that they set up at the beginning of the season, and then it turns out
which I would have hated, but it's still better than this.
It's a choice though. It's like a bold swing, and you can't help but give them credit there. But instead, it's like just some. Like, contrived, like, oh, I'm just insecure. It's stupid. It's stupid. It was, like, this show is so desperate for they want, honestly, I got a little mini rant here. They want so badly to have what The Mandalorian has, which is, that social media, meme ability, whatever you want to call it, where, like, I hate that I know this, there's an Instagram account for, like, an official CBS Instagram account for Grudge the Cat. And the desperation that belies is, I think, inherent in everything that they do in this script, including, giving Detmer this really hacky, because they wanted to be like, oh, she's the cool Star Wars pilot. It's like, you gotta, like, build this shit. Like, you can't... Right.
But she goes. Come on, Glenn. She gets to do a trench run on the Star Destroyer.
That right?
And she turns off the auto.
Yeah, it's brutal.
Yeah.
And
I'm going manual. And it's like, what? You weren't already manual?
Right.
Then what were you doing with your hands?
And they're like, oh, Weshiko, and there's like, oh, Detmer, you're gonna be all macho and impossible all week now because it's what Lane pointed out when he was on. It's like the fucking drama club kids.
Yeah, it is.
Patting each other. And it's the same thing with Saru, who, he gets to be a captain, but then also Tilly is his number one now. And what does he have her do? He has her, like, writing in a notebook good things to say when he says engage.
Yeah.
Which is literally a joke on Lower Decks that we did not like.
Yeah.
No, I didn't like it on Lower Decks. It's even worse here.
Yep.
And goes back to he doesn't want a first officer. He wants his best friend to gossip with.
Right.
Ugh.
It's not great that Detmer. I mean, Detmer does not have an arc, but Detmer has something they're pretending is an arc. And then there's the black lady who sits next to her and says, "Don't worry, you're doing a great job."
Oh, whoa.
That's not great.
Are Oweshakun and Detmer, are they an item? It is very unclear to me
No.
whether they are.
I think they're just besties. They could be, but I think they're just like.
And
BFFs.
well, listen, and if the show like told me now that they've been an item all along, then fuck them. Because why aren't they making out then? There's no PDA. No, there's nothing. If absolutely not.
Right. This show's not
They're
afraid of
friends.
PDA.
No,
Like,
if they were an item, there would be. There's
yeah.
nothing going on there.
No, that's fair.
no,
that's
it's
fair.
yeah.
That for some reason there was some vibe between them. I was like, is this like?
No, it's because they only talk to each other.
Right. Well, I mean, like if we're gonna say it's like a drama club vibe, I mean, there's so much incest in any good theater department. So it's
Oh, yeah.
there you go.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I mean, yeah, it's drama club vibe that is
Yeah.
easily mistaken because they've gotten drunk and made out before. Sure,
Yeah,
everybody has.
Yeah, of course. When they see each other naked all the time backstage, so like it's
Yeah,
always
like,
it's a little.
Look, I was a theater guy. I get it. It's fine.
we were all theater.
I was about to say
guys.
we're all theater dudes.
We get it.
So, which this also reminds me of a dynamic from TNG that I think would benefit this show.
See how he has to talk about TNG because he didn't watch
Uh-huh.
Discovery?
Hey, hey. Fine.
Hey.
So okay, god damn it.
I just said, hey.
I know.
on.
In mocking echoes, I get it, but who fucking
Saying hi.
Sure, sure you are. Unfucking.
Hey, Glenn. It's all right. Just say what you're gonna say.
Oh, okay. Fine, I will. So on TNG, there's a professionalism about the crew. Like, yes, of course, people are close and friends.
Which one's that?
TNG.
Yeah, which one's that?
Oh, sorry, the Patrick Stewart one. The
Next Generation.
Next Generation. Sorry.
I know.
Oh,
Yes.
fuck you.
I know.
So, but there's a professionalism with the crew where Picard is treated like you would expect a captain to be treated. There's a reverence and a professionalism. Like, you don't have no one's just like gossiping with him like you see like Saru clearly wanting, and there isn't this like drama club. Lane hit the nail on the head. Like, it's the drama
Right.
club vibe, and because
But yeah, I mean, that's what works about TNG. It's like he's got that stoic dad energy that people
Yes,
respond to.
authority.
It's like, yeah, it's the authority, and he doesn't brook no nonsense. But like, so everybody like, it's the same as like fucking. We've been watching a lot of Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Hell yeah.
Captain Alt is like but he'd do anything for his crew, for his adopted family. But you know what? There's rules and
Right.
there's a decorum.
that's a good comparison actually.
Yeah.
Like, again, like you are reminded frequently that this person is an authority figure, and
Right.
you're reminded that this is a formal arrangement. It's not the drama kids. It's not the drama kids. That's what Star Wars is. Star Wars is people like flying a junker across the galaxy with no formal like command structure, and maybe that's a problem with Discovery too, is that it just very clearly, very frequently wants that Star Wars vibe, and that's just not what Trek is. That's not what it does. That's not what it's good at.
The space fight also looked like shit.
Yeah, no, terrible.
Yeah.
Does not help them.
Right. Well, it's because the whole thing, this whole episode, again, it's like, I can't blame them for not having money. Like, they spent a lot on these effects.
Yeah.
Oh, I will say, like, they had to reuse some assets. Like, there was a fan theory going around that from the short trek Calypso, there's a map that looks exactly like the map of the source of the burn that they find in this episode.
That's so funny.
And so there's a fan theory. It's like, oh my God, that means that that short trek is somehow tied to the burn, which would have been an interesting angle to go with. But of course it's not. It's just they had to reuse an asset because they don't have any money,
Right.
which is Star Trek has done since
A
forever.
proud Star Trek tradition, but like the in the age of prestige TV and fan theories and everything, like
Right.
it's
Yeah, the fans noticed that was the same and they got real excited, but it was like, no, it's just we don't have money to create something new when we already made something that works for us.
right. Like when they used Mark Leonard as the Romulan commander and then later as Sarek, like there was no fear. There were like the writers didn't like there was no intentional like theory there, but after the fact, it's all after the fact. But like nowadays, like there's no excuses. People know that like people are gonna like deep dive on this shit.
I mean, you watch the 90s, they reused shit from Wrath of Khan and Deep Space Nine and everything else. So, I mean, it's fine. But it would have been better if they tied it. Spoilers, I don't like what the source of the burn is. I think it's kind of dumb. If they had tied it into that short trek and done a weird thing with the time travel and stuff, whatever, there's angles they could have done that would have been better. But
wait, what's the source of the burn? I don't want to find out on television.
Well, tough. I'm not going to tell you right now.
God damn it.
Can I tell him?
No.
No.
I'll wait.
Yeah, all right. I'll rewatch that episode too.
Oh, shut the fuck up. I don't buy it.
I'll rewatch I promise I'm making a vow here and now. From this point in the season forward, I will rewatch every episode the day that
Thanks for doing the bare minimum that we expected.
On top of editing the fucking show.
Right.
And working on status report.
Nobody asked for that.
Nobody asked for
that. Don't act like your fucking extra credit bullshit is something someone asked you to do. I don't have a segment by choice, okay?
Alright, well, that's your loss.
Back to this episode. I'll talk about the Sanctuary some more.
I liked the autumn, the autumnal planet.
All right. Oh, because it could have been a lot more but
it was very dull. It's
just go to the woods and
just one bunch of trees and leaves, and then they go to a building.
They can't afford to go build sets for this. They got which is fine, but it's like feels like from what we set up with books was going to be an interesting character. Then we go back and his planet's just everybody looks like him, and
It sucks, man.
There's too many locusts for them to do it. And then Burnham says, "Well, there's two of you. Is that not enough?" And they're like, "No, there's not two. You have a whole civilization of empaths,
right?"
So they couldn't empath the locusts away because two is not enough to do it.
That was the question I had.
Then get the whole fucking planet to do it, but they don't even bring that up as an idea. It's like, oh.
That was a question I had at the time. Is like, are they the only people that can do this? It seems like a lot of people on their planet can do this.
Yeah, and if they're not, if they're special on their planet, then say that. But they didn't, so I'm just to assume that Qui-Gon-Jinnians all are empaths. Like that's just.
It sucks that the show doesn't really devote the energy to exploring that Book's brother is in a difficult position. Like the show does not really paint him as in a difficult position. They tell you he's in a difficult position. He announces that he's in a difficult position. But boy, I mean, Book and Burnham they never really come around to him. Like they never really give him a shot. The show does not seem to believe that he's in a difficult position at all.
He's just a mean. Yeah, he just. Well,
they're like, you sold out to the green.
The Emerald Chain gave them
and he's
repellent.
Like, but if I don't, we'll all die. And he's like, I don't care. You shouldn't have done it. And the show's like, yeah, they're right.
And that's why I left. But then it happened. He didn't do it, but they also made a deal with the Emerald Chain 100 years ago, which I don't understand. I'm not sure which is. And it's just just be clear with your storytelling. I'm so fucking confused about why.
So was the deal for transworms?
They throw in transworms are a thing that Osira that they gave. Were on their planet that they gave to the Emerald Chain. Okay. I assume just for murdering nephews
for nephew murder,
and she murdered her brother with it, I guess. And she's like, "Oh, it's not gonna." Yeah, Tolar understood that, but then because it just makes the galaxy small again. To be it all a family affair.
Yep.
So they gave him the transworms, and then they gave them
locust repellent.
Locust repellent.
Yep. She gave them raid. So now we're set.
And then, like, the idea, like, they say early on, Book is like, oh, he's not my biological brother. And there's nothing interesting about why he's not a biological brother. It's just so they can cast a Middle Eastern actor and a black guy as brothers. Like, that's just, they're aliens.
It's space.
Who gives a shit?
It's space.
There's no There's no reason they couldn't be biological brothers. Like,
he's also the worst actor I've ever seen.
And it's like, I thought, like, the first time I watched it, it's like, oh, is that an interesting thing? Is that has to do with the backstory of why Book's special among his planet? It's like, no. It's just like, it's a cultural thing. We do things, which is fine. Alien culture should be different, but like, brothers doesn't mean biological brother on my planet. Okay, but like, what's going? Okay, fine.
Book really, I don't know. To me, just comes across as like a very big baby in this episode. Like, he's not trying to help anything. His people, sold out to the Emerald Chain again, so they wouldn't starve to death. Like, they talk about, they say, like, the Emerald Chain, like, flaunts, the Federation's prime directive. They're not worried about it. They go to planets to get what they want, and they give technology, they give whatever, blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, like, when they show up in technology, and then they can't stand up to them. There's no Federation to help them.
And all it takes is 2 empaths, and an enhancer on a spaceship, a deflector. I don't remember if it's a deflector array, but it basically was. It was the deflector dish on the front of the ship.
Yeah.
Beamed the thing down that enhanced the signal. That's all it took.
Yep.
So they set up, because they told you his brother's a bad guy, but then it's like the most crass storytelling of like, okay, well then how do we make him a good guy now? Give him a son. Right. And then they're like, you have a son? Ugh. Oh my God, now I feel differently about you because you're a father. It's like, fuck you. That's the most cheap, ham-fisted way to build.
It's really manipulative. It's sucks.
Like, it's the worst.
Yeah. Hey, this show sucks.
Yeah, so getting into how I'd fix this episode, 2 things. The one sentence thing I promised earlier is that make him the Borg. That theory is great. You planted the idea, you incepted me, Wade, because I was hoping that would be the case, and it wasn't, and it was so much more boring. It'd be so much more interesting if they were the Borg, and now elaborating beyond that run-on sentence. So if you had, you could even keep some of the elements of, like, the Chelan Pass and blah 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 blah, but like establish it, like, in the 900 years since the quote unquote modern day, the Borg evolved to be more organic and to interface with organic life in a way that kind of mimics telepathy, and in doing so they became more empathetic, or like you said, the whole thing where he's like, oh, my family are hunters, like maybe there are still bad Borg out there and these are the good ones that are like, tree huggers or whatever. There are a lot of different possibilities just with that idea that would have been so much more interesting. And then another element I would like to change from this episode is the idea that the Emerald Chain consistently violates the Prime Directive. We don't really see the actual repercussions of that beyond, Quajon. And I thought it'd be interesting to see, like, because the whole point of the Prime Directive is you don't want a starship, a warp-capable starship, showing up on a planet of... I know I hate that I'm referencing the Kelvin movies, but you do see this at the beginning of Star Trek Into Darkness, where the Enterprise rises out of the ocean for a society that has, quote, barely invented the wheel, and they start worshipping the Enterprise. And it's treated as a joke in the movie, and they don't expand on it, which is one of the many reasons that movie sucks. But it'd be interesting to see what these shameless violations of the Prime Directive actually do. Like, maybe
it's not a violation. They're not part of the Federation.
Sorry. They violate from our perspective. I'm not saying that they were under any obligation.
Yeah, they're dicks. That's all.
They're dicks. But there's a reason for the Prime Directive, and it would be interesting to see, like, maybe there are, like, multiple planets of, maybe barely pre-warp society, but that basically worship the Emerald Chain because that same situation happened. It's like, oh, these are basically gods that came and gave us this technology. And that could be an interesting dynamic where they essentially have, human, or I guess sentient shields of these innocent civilizations that have essentially been brainwashed by these Prime Directive violations.
But nothing on this show has dealt with pre-warp civilizations, presumably because it's 900 years later, too, because there's not as many of those left.
But the galaxy's a big place. That's the
it
thing.
is a big place, but yeah.
No,
but
it's not.
It's not really.
Not according to Star Trek. Did we learn that at the core, in the middle of where the burn happened, there's a distress signal?
Yeah, we did learn that.
Yes.
What the fuck? And then what?
Because there's the song that everybody hears.
Right, the song.
But also,
knows.
the song is just also a warped distress signal that's coming from the source of the burn. I'd wait for.
Why didn't they go there?
Because that's how they wrap up the season. They still have to do this other stuff before they go to the source of the burn. This is just setting up the later episodes, Sean.
There's still so many episodes left, which feels
so many.
unfathomable to me.
There's too many left. Yes.
Yep.
Next is the Giorgio episode, and then there's a whole bunch of other bullshit.
Which is a two-parter, and then it's a
two-parter?
Yep.
Yes.
Get fucked.
But this episode, how would you fix it, Sean? Sorry to cut you off, Glenn, but
you didn't cut off anything important. I'd watch the episode into space. I don't care. I'd make everything in it more interesting. I don't have details because I didn't really engage with this episode because I didn't find it engaging. I really Book's planet was boring. I didn't learn anything about Book. I also didn't learn anything about Giorgio. Giorgio's sick, and we learned that she's sick. Like Book's planet, Book's like, I don't go to my planet. I left my planet, but then we go, and we're like, yeah, you did leave your planet. Oh, okay. There's ideas, there's things, there's, we're gonna, if we engage in this little subterfuge and it looks like Book's ship attacked the Emerald Chain, then maybe we can maintain, and then nothing happens. It's the same as if the Discovery had fought, but they seem so committed to making sure that the bulk of the Discovery staff does nothing. Nothing at all. They sit there on the ship with their fingers up their noses, waiting for Michael to get back. There's a whole crew.
Yeah.
They send the one lady out to do a space fight so she can get over her crippling insecurity. That's what we're fucking doing in space. I'm not interested.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say how, if you're going to fix this episode, you have to make Book interesting.
Yes. Yep. Yeah.
And you got to, all the things that you set up before, like my people are hunters, some of us have set that aside. Now we're trying to save these things. That you deal with that. You scrap all the family stuff, make him different than,
make the Emerald Chain want Book. Why did we meet a blue man who the Emerald Chain wants? Have the Emerald Chain want Book because he's interesting. Have them want Book because he's the one who can control the transworms. I don't give a shit. But Book is here and he's just a fucking guy.
Yeah, they set up Ren in this as they want him. Saru was like, why do they want you? He's like, I won't tell you. It's like, okay, fine. And then we learn Detmer is macho and guesses that he's the only one that ever stood up to Osiris. And he's like, yep, that's it. I'm the only one that stood up. That's why. And then later we learn, well, actually it's because I know that the Emerald Chain's running out of dilithium, and I'm the only one that knows that, and that's why. And then later on in the season, they give us a different reason why.
Are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah,
This blue guy is more special than anybody we've spent all season with. No.
And it's a shame too, because I like the act. I think I like Osiris, the actor. I think she's a black hat. There's and there's a lot they could do to make her more interesting.
Yeah.
And later they get glimpses of that, and I got excited. And then, well,
they didn't do it.
I won't spoil how that ends for you.
It's fine. I'll see it. I don't know. What do I care?
Right. And then Ren, I like the actor. Book, I like Book, but everything that was interesting about him, they're they just water it down to the most boring of Star Trek plots where we go to a planet to save people. with no real hooks other than
Yeah.
they watered down and flattened everything that was interesting about Book in this episode. And
And part of it has to be that they don't have time to address, because for some reason this show on a streaming service without network television to be concerned with is so stuck on a 44-minute episode. Like, this is what, if you need to have the Georgiou shit in there, if you need to have the fucking Anthony Rent and the Trill, stuff. If you need to have all that in this episode, instead of devoting an episode like to them, instead of giving, or like half an episode to them, instead of giving like everybody a tenth of the episode and then giving the A plot 50% of it, the fucking, you could make everything more interesting if you committed to a fucking plot.
Yeah, That's the other thing. Yeah, you have to streamline this down into just an A plot and maybe a B plot. You do a Detmer plot, fine.
I'm fine with a Detmer plot, right? An A plot, and then one side crew member gets something resolved or moved forward, and that's it.
Right, like you can't spend 10 minutes on Georgiou and also another 10 minutes. I appreciate what they did. It's nice what they did for Adira. Like, this is the episode. We didn't even talk about this where they changed their pronouns, and they're like, okay, right. and it's good. I'm glad they did that. But this was shoehorned into an episode where that had nothing to do with anything else that happened, and it's like, it's nice. I'm glad they did that. But then at the end, I'm like, all right, I get it. They say they, them, they, like 5.
Right, they have to do a fucking virtue signaling scene of them instead of like doing something, like just having that character now exist. They have to fucking hammer it home. Look how inclusive we are. Great, we're so glad you're inclusive. Now just move your fucking story along and have that character be able to exist.
Right.
That's it. That's the most inclusive thing you could do.
It's good to be inclusive, but like build it into the plot. Like have it be like have them just like bring it up in a thing, and they're like, oh, and then just move on from it. Like, it's 900 years in the future. They're past this stuff,
right?
But also this is a TV show about now, because science fiction is not really about the future; it's about the present. So I understand to take the time to like, maybe the future they wouldn't even have to bring it up as like, oh, I'm uncomfortable with it. The only person I've ever told is Gray, and now you, Anthony Rent. And in the future, they probably wouldn't have to do that. But I'm not even mad that they did it here.
It's all just inelegant. It's all
inelegant is a very good word.
Yeah, it nothing feels like it's given enough time, and yet I don't care about anything. Right. Like, I don't know that I want anything to get more time because I don't like the show. But maybe, like, if they had more time to make Book and his planet interesting, then I'd like it more. Like, I don't... Blah.
Blah, indeed.
Yeah. Yeah. Make his people bad guys. That's how I would have done it. Like, like what he said at the front. My people are hunters, but some of us have turned to protecting a few. He said like a few of us every now and then are different. That's how they set it up at the beginning of the season.
Right, make him be like a member of like a small like group of his people who go against them and defend the wildlife. Defend, you know. Have him be like ultra vegan. Who gives a shit? I'll watch it, man.
Right. Well, they set that up in the fit because he took Burnham to a sanctuary for trance rooms. Right. And then there's no mention of that ever again.
No. No, there's nothing. Right, I guess that wasn't his planet?
No.
Okay, yeah.
Because he hasn't been to his planet for 15 years.
Yeah, no, I know. It's just
because of the deal they made with the Emerald Chain 100 years ago. It's like, and his grandfather was really sad on his deathbed because he's like, I don't know how to resolve all these details.
They throw a ton of information at you. Don't choose not to delve into any of it, and choose not to make any of it like the interesting thing.
Yeah.
Sucks.
So, I don't know. Yeah, so we've yelled about this episode enough.
Yeah.
I'm good.
as penance for not rewatching this episode, status report this week is off.
Good. Tell us next week.
Sure. I'll save my notes.
All right. So let's figure out. Okay. Tell me about your imaginary podcast, Sean. How's that going?
It's coming out soon. We're almost there.
Okay. All right. You've dangled that football before.
I know. Maybe next episode. Maybe I'm gonna try to have something concrete to say about it next episode.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this was I'm not gonna say this was our best episode.
I don't think it was.
I'm man enough to admit that.
My heart's not in it this week. I'm sorry, guys.
Yeah, we know that, Glenn.
I feel bad. I really though, just like I feel like even when I don't like the episodes, I feel like I have something like to latch onto, and I really just everything was either like so small or so dull, and I truly like I don't have. Yeah, there just wasn't enough to really hook me in this. I felt like I was watching very passively. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I took a shit ton of notes and mostly angry at all of them.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I got work in the morning. Fuck you.
What a defeated, dejected ending.
I'm really, this is...
I gotta watch the episode just to have more energy or more...
Well, yeah, Glenn, yes, it helps! It helps when all three of us can bring things to the table to talk about!
Oh, wait, are you saying that you need my Star Trek ramblings?
Oh my god, Glenn. No, we need you to say, hey, also this! That's it!
They don't have to be ramblings.
No!
If they're we just need input. You know,
Yeah.
I do value your Star Trek opinions, Glenn.
I do too. Your brief ones.
Oh, only the brief ones. Got it.
Few and far between.
Duly
I like them
noted.
to be constructive and you know, sorry,
Are you guys still recording?
salient to the episode.
You know what? Shut the fuck up. I've got work in the morning.
All right.
Wow, look at that.
Ooh. Love it. All right. Bye.
Bye.